Hello everyone, I'm Nicole Spitler of All Designs Equine, and today we're going to be making a dressage saddle wreath. This is something that I came up with last year. I made 3 different kinds of saddle wreaths. I did the dressage wreath. I also have a Western wreath, and I have that in a video, I think from maybe the beginning of the summer, that I did the Western wreath. And then I also do have a jumping or like all-purpose saddle English wreath. So I came up with this idea because of course I'm racking my brain of how to stay in my horsey niche, but I wanted to come up with something different that no one else had apparently done before. So I'm not even sure how the idea came to me, but I just thought it might be something cool and different. So I tried it, and they have been very popular, in particular the Western wreath. But I personally, being a dressage rider, love these dressage wreaths. So I'm just going to show you, one of these days I'm going to show you how my laser cuts. But I found this actually when I first started drawing out the saddle. Now this is the overlay for the saddle, but you see I hand draw everything, and I've done a couple different, if I make mistakes, and then I have to measure everything out. But this is the overlay of the wood, and then I do have the base layer of the dressage saddle. So I've obviously painted everything. I used spray paint and painted everything. And I do offer a similar, not quite exactly a DIY version of this that you could make yourself. It doesn't come with the whip. I also do have a whip that goes with it. But you can actually use your own whip. You can use a dressage whip, and you can actually add the flowers on it. So I'm going to go through this step by step. It's fairly simple, but there are some little tricky parts to it. So the first thing is I'm going to glue on this saddle, the flap, the front flap of the saddle. I'm just going to try to make sure, well, once you put it down, you really can't move it too much. That looks good. And then we're going to do the back part. Make sure I get this set up correctly. Get some more glue. And this is one of those things where when you're in your niche, but you want to try to actually make something that is different and unique. And ideally, if you can come up with some cool ideas that you develop completely on your own, that's always really awesome. But a lot of times when you're starting out, you just want to go after your competition, look at what your competition is doing, and then just try to do it better, or try to add some unique spin on it to make it better. And once you get comfortable doing that, then you can possibly venture out and do your own, completely creative and unique thing. Okay, and then we're just going to add this to it. Of course, this all looks really easy, but there's a lot of prep work. And then we're going to try to fit this nicely here. Push it up. Okay. And I'm going to just put this behind it. So this is a very nice, like 3D looking saddle too, because we're going to actually add some other details that'll make it even more 3D looking. Okay. And of course I use an authentic English stirrup, which we will put on most likely last. I mean, not last, but like further down the line. So what I like to do is use some kind of piping. Now, this is a little bit different than I normally use because they were out of it. So we're going to just work with what we got. And we're gonna have to overlap this because I need to take this piping and put it behind the saddle, because if you would cut it, it would just fray everywhere. It would not look good. So I'm just going to kind of do a good job trying to like kind of guess where this is going to actually end up. So I'm going to cut that there. And then I'm going to put the glue on and then just push it down. So glue gun is free. We're just going to take a nice stream of glue. Do that. Make sure it's overlapping. Push it in. It's good to kind of use like a rope piping, because otherwise it doesn't actually flow very well. It'll like kink up. Okay, so I will flip that over later and glue it behind it. And then I'm going to do it on this side. This actually takes quite a bit of piping, and this piping is really expensive. It's like trim, or I'm not exactly sure what it's called. I can't really think about what it's called right now, but it's not really very cheap. It's, I think this was like $6 a yard, and we're going to be using almost 3 yards. So right here is a kind of big expense. And even the stirrup itself, if you've ever bought brand new English stirrups, even if you don't spend a lot of money for them, they're still like $30. So that is something to consider. But if you have your own stirrup, that would even be better. So I'm going to have to go and I will finish the piping. I might do this off camera because I actually have to go get some more, because that was 1.5 yards right there. That's how quick 1.5 yards went. So I'm going to use, for like the quote unquote stirrup leather, I use just a piece of fabric. And the reason I use a flat piece of fabric instead of like an actual leather is because I need to run this behind and then staple it on. And you can't really staple leather. So I kind of want to figure out how long do I want the stirrup. I'm just going to cut it off there. And run it through. Now I had to kind of think about all these. When I was drawing this dressage saddle out, of course I had to glue it to the thing. I had to consider like all the different ways that I needed to use the wood. So I needed to create a little place. And this is like, I'm probably gonna make it just a little shorter. Yeah, that's good. And then we're just gonna flip it over and staple it on. And then I'll glue it. And of course I always add pads and stuff to the back, but I'm not going to do that right now. Okay. Now I'm going to, oh, I actually probably will put a pad on it because for time's sake, because I don't want to flip it over and glue it to the paper again, which is what I'm doing when I'm trying to hurry up. So add pads at least right here. And then I will take a break and I will go run and get the rest of that trim. And then I'll be right back. Okay, so I went to get the rest of this trim, so we're just going to add that right now. I'm thinking about doing another giveaway, which I do from my Facebook page. So I'm not sure if I'm going to do a carrot wreath, but it will be some kind of spring wreath at some point in January. So if you want to go check out the giveaway, when I announce it, it will be on my Facebook page, which is All Designs Equine. And I will try to remember to link that somewhere. But I do try to do several giveaways throughout the year. So I'm going to try to do that very shortly. I'm just trying to recover from Christmas first, and then I'm going to do it. All right, so like I said, we're going to take all these ends and we'll flip it over and glue it. And we're going to do that right now. Try to get all these. It's a little tricky sometimes. Okay. If anybody has any ideas for any other wreaths that they would like me to try to do, or once again, if you're interested in doing your own custom wreaths or doing anything for your own business, I will link the information below. If you want to try to get a hold of me, or you can even, I will link the listing below, and you can contact me through Etsy or my Shopify. Got all this. This is what happens with this frays very badly, and it's all over me. So I'll just try to keep it under control with some glue. Okay, I'm gonna go here. This is kind of nice, even though it's a little messy, because it actually pads the back of the wreath as well, so it doesn't scratch your door or wherever you want to hang it. And we can always put stuff on the walls. It doesn't have to be an actual door wreath. A lot of people use this in their tack rooms, or if they have an equestrian themed place in their house or something like that. I always have these awesome pictures that people take and they share with me, and I absolutely love them. And I always want to do, and every once in a while I'll go on my Facebook and I will show customer photos, because they're usually absolutely awesome. Okay, I didn't realize that the camera wasn't recording, so I didn't have this part, but I added this little ring here to be like the little D ring, and I will also add a nail head later, and I'll just nail that in here, and I'll give that little nail head look, and it's just like a little brass tack. All right, so now we're going to do the whip. And I did already paint the whip and put the styrofoam on it, but normally I just, like I said, I have a whip, I cut this, I spray paint it, then I add the top part of the whip on top of it. And then after that's done, I wrap it with like a faux leather, and then I'm going to put like a decorative crystal on the top, because dressage whips are often quite fancy. So I have this really cool crystal ribbon that I got at Hobby Lobby, and I just put this kind of on the top to make it a little extra fancy. So we're gonna take this, just one little strip of glue there, and glue that on. So I like to try to add these little tiny details that, although we know this is not a real saddle, but to add some details so it gives it a little more of a genuine feel. And that's why I like to do some of the 3D, like the leather and the trim. The trim that I normally use isn't quite this big, but like I said, they didn't have it in stock, so I was forced to substitute, which I have to do sometimes because those things are basically beyond my control. So now what we're going to do with this whip is we're going to do our floral element on the whip. And I'm choosing to use an ivory rose as the center because dressage is notorious either white and black or ivory and black, although they are getting more bold now, but those are the classic and traditional colors. Okay, so before I do this decoration, I'm going to place the whip where I want it. So I'm going to place it so I'll be able to see this little nail head. And I'm going to glue it, but I'm also going to staple it. I'm going to staple it here, and you're not going to see the staples because there's going to be flowers running that way. So it's going to be hidden. So the first thing I'm going to do is staple the faux leather down, and then I'm going to put glue on the back of the whip, and I'm also going to put it where my piece of fabric is, and then I'm going to also staple that, and this will create just so it won't slide so much. Well, hopefully it won't slide at all, but this will keep it in there. Now I will end up where this little D is, there's a little hole, and I will attach the whip with a piece of wire, but you're not going to see it because you'll see that there's a big floral thing here, and it'll hide everything. So that's going to be there. Anywhere that I can actually glue it to stabilize it a little bit more, even better. So this will take a little bit of time to glue. Okay, so now we're going to work on the floral arrangement, which I'm going to be using some different color greenery, of course. And it's going to be long. We're not going to try to overtake the entire dressage saddle. So it is a little bit of a balancing act between making it dramatic, but not overdoing it. So I'm going to use a couple different kinds of greenery. I'm going to use this long greenery first. Put that in there. Put that in here. We want to make sure it's not too long. So if it's too long and it's too much, I'll cut it away a little bit at the end. It's hard to always know exactly. So sometimes you have to make some adjustments. I'm going to do that a little bit here, and then I'm going to add some different color greenery in just a second. It's actually pretty quick. Okay, so I'm going to keep adding. We're almost done. The only thing I'm going to be doing after I get this done is I actually spray shellac everything, even the flowers. I will spray shellac everything. I will add the rope hanger on the back, and I will add the nail head. But everything else I'm going to do on camera. But we are almost done. Try to just add these little pieces of greenery. Okay, and then before I add the rest of it, I'm going to put my ivory flower here so I know what I still have to fill in. This is going to take up kind of a large focal point and take up some space there. And I'm going to use some seeded eucalyptus, and then I'm also going to use some more like spiky flowers to add even more length and some more drama. Dressage people are about the drama, being very fancy. Understated fancy, but fancy nonetheless. And we're just gonna add, probably gonna make this a little shorter. Maybe just a little bit here. Okay, and then I'm going to add some of my seeded eucalyptus, and I am gonna add a few little wood flowers at the end to just fill in any other little spaces that I need. Add another piece down here. And then some little wood flowers. Not too many because this is a little more rustic, but I still think they're very pretty. They're very delicate. I love the wood roses. So that's basically it. I will fill in a few more flowers here and there, but this is basically the wreath. And it's classical, it's beautiful, it's definitely interesting, and makes quite a large impact. And it's I think it's a fan favorite. Certainly is a favorite of mine. All right, folks, so if anybody has any ideas for future wreaths, please let me know in the comments. And like and subscribe to my channel, and please check out my Facebook page to keep up on any of my giveaways. I have somewhere pinned my last winner of my giveaway, which I believe was in October. So there's a picture of a fall wreath that she had won. I planned on doing a Christmas giveaway, but Christmas just really got out of control fast. So instead, I'm going to be doing a spring giveaway. And I just want to show you also the blanks that I sell. I sell 2 different blanks. So it really requires a lot of decorating on your part. The stirrup, you can add a legitimate real dressage whip, but this one also has like the putty and the flowers to make a decoration. So those are the other 2 DIYs that I offer, and I will also link that in the comments below. All right, thank you everyone, and next week I will see you.